It's like a pizza crunch without the batter. It's like the wood juice without the water. You'll never get the knickers I found. What a fucking chance. Premeditated patter. Premeditated patter. How we doing, people? Good to see you. Good to see you on this fine Sunday. Sorry I wasn't here last week. I was out in the Randan. Nah, kidding on. You know I wasn't out in the Randan, don't you? It's actually been 13 months since I was last out in the Randan. That's fucking scary, but in a good way. It's positively scary. I actually had a sobering thought the other day, man. I've not had a come down, I've not had a hangover in well over a year. Now, that is the longest I've done that since I started drinking, excluding being in the jail. Saying that, I had my first drink when I was like 14. It was like a 2 litre Pulse. Paralytic. It was fucking terrible. And I never drank till I was like 15 because I never liked it. I was like, I don't like this. This isn't enjoyable. But I just started drinking to fit in. You know what I mean? Because I was stood out. I was seen as a weirdo because I never drank. But I started drinking, so I'd say roughly about 15. So what am I, 31 now? 16 years, more than half my life ago. That's mental, innit? I don't know if it's just a Scottish thing or it's a worldwide issue, but see, drink, it's so ingrained as part of your culture. Getting mad weight, going out with the troops and all that kind of stuff. And don't get me wrong, I built my fucking following on talking about the sesh, talking about getting full of gear and that, because it was so relatable for people. And I was looking at my analytics for the other day, and say I spread across Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all my social medias. I've got about 90,000 odd followers. I tagged that up, and between 18 and 44-year-old men, there's roughly over 50,000, so more than half. And it's mostly men in the UK and Scotland. I think it's Scotland. Some don't tell you Scotland, they'll just say UK. They'll not tell you whereabouts exactly. Some might say Scotland, England, and some might say like Glasgow, Dundee, whatever. But the thing is, that fucking age group, there's obviously people that are probably that can connect. They can relate to getting mad with it. Fucking Monday club in it. Fucking been on it for 4 days, innit? It's so fucking prevalent in these times, man. But this is why, because I'm in recovery, right? I don't make a secret of it. They talk about it's an anonymous fellowship, and it is for other people. For me, I can speak about my experience and my experience alone. I don't need to mention anybody else's name. As long as I'm talking about me and me alone, I can say whatever the fuck I want. But when you go to these meetings, the rooms are packed out. And I go to different ones. So basically you get AA, which is Alcoholics Anonymous, obviously. You've got Cocaine Anonymous. And you've got Narcotics Anonymous. That's NA. You've obviously got other ones, but these are the three I kind of fucking jump between. AA, you find that there's a lot more old-timers there. There's a lot of older people there, naturally, that have got like 30 years after drinking and all that kind of thing. I like going to the meetings because with old-timers, you get a lot of wisdom. Because they do like shares and stuff like that. Anybody's not familiar with a format of a meeting, somebody will come in, they'll share their experience, strength and hope, and basically talk about how their life has went, how they go into recovery and where they're at now. But they'll also share just, like, you'll get somebody that'll maybe open the meeting, that's called a chair. They chair the meeting, and they'll do a wee kind of share, but you'll find they'll maybe touch on certain topics and that kind of stuff, because what they're trying to do is, they're trying to connect to maybe the newcomer, somebody that's just come in about the rooms, because if anybody that's watching this has never been to a meeting, and there'll be people watching this that have been to meetings, there'll be people that's in recovery watching this, and people that have dabbled, like me at one point. I remember going to my first meeting. It wasn't even a bender I went on, it was one night. It was a Sunday, ended a mad Sunday sesh. I ended up in some pub just there after St George's Cross. It might have been, was it the Winter Gills, maybe? One of them fucking places. And I battered the Charlie all night, and the next day I woke up. I was working, I was meant to be working. Obviously, I slept in, and I woke up, and I was like, fuck this, I'm doing myself in. I was like, see that way that way you're just lying in bed. It's almost like, you ever wake up and you're that tired, but you're bursting for a piss or you heavy need a drink, and you're like, I'm going to get up and do it, but you're like, no, the new, but that was that kind of thought, and I was like, fuck this, man. Fuck this. I eventually peeled myself out of bed and just went to work. And when I went to work, I was just like, fucking rough as fuck. And what happened, right, when I finished work that day, I was working along at Finiston. So that was just over the Squinty Bridge. There's two hotels they built there. There was a Marriott and a Moxie hotel. It's built now, but I was doing the scaffolding on it. So I would get the bus. I would walk back over to the Pace Road and get the bus. So I was on the bus, and I was just coming up to Helen Street just before that. Just kind of like next to where Ibrox is. And I remember sitting in the bus, and I just had this overwhelming fucking feeling of anxiety. Like, really fucking, like, I was fucking, couldn't get a breath. I just felt dead claustrophobic. I felt trapped. I was like, I need to get off this bus. So I went to go up and hit the button to get off the bus, and the bus was stopped at the lights. So the bus stop that I wanted to get off it was literally just the other side of the lights, but I had to wait until the bus got by these lights, and it felt like a fucking eternity that this bus was stuck at these red lights. I was like, I need to get off. I was fucking panicking. I don't know what the fuck was happening. And it was weird. I got off the bus and I walked home, and I didn't feel right in my own body. It was like I was looking at myself, and I felt like I was in... It felt as if I jumped into the wrong motor. You know what I'm talking about? You ever jumped into the wrong motor? Like, whoa, this isn't my motor. Or not, something like that. I fucking just felt fucking odd. So I walked home, and I was like, what the fuck? And I thought, right, usually what I used to do, I used to self-medicate, was I would smoke a joint. I would smoke green when I had the come down. Usually, I think that's what fucking a lot of cunts do. You'd go out on the weekend bender, then you get to the Monday, you'd smoke green all week, you know, then you'd be back in the fucking madness at the weekend. So I was like, right, I'll get a bit of green, I'll smoke that. And I smoked the green, and it was like some cunt had pressed fast forward in my mind. All these anxious thoughts, it just went ba ba ba. I was like, it just made it 10 times worse, naturally. And so I ended up fucking phoning my pal. I was like, listen, get any Valium or something. So this is like, know what I mean? I've went for fucking a come down, because I've took Valium in the past, right? I used to take Valium. I never took them recreationally. I was one of the people, I would go out like Friday to Monday, and then I'd grab a cut of Valium to get the head down, and that way you wake up without a hangover, or so you believe. But I eventually got to a point where, at the height of my, like, when I was every day taking gear, I was going out like Friday to Monday and gubbing like 50 Valium in the wanner, fucking, and got in my bed. Just, I didn't want to wake up. And then I would be bouncing all week, and I'd be sniffing gear every day just to kind of live myself out. It was fucking, even just thinking about that, man, like the way my life is now, it's fucking mental. So basically, I turned into a complete dick. I fucking burned my life to the ground. And eventually, I ended up coming off, stopped taking the Valium, and then kind of was like, whoa, what the fuck have I been doing? So I hadn't really took Valium since that time, because I had attached such a stigma to them, which is really bad. They're no good. It's not a good drug for in any capacity. So that's when I'm phoning this cunt trying to get Valium. That's when, you know, it's bad. So he came and gave me some, and it was obviously mad fake Valium. See that way they're fucking pure all cracked and all that shit, all bright up in your horn and all that pish. But I think I grabbed like one or two. And don't get me wrong, it helped. It did help kind of take the anxiety away a bit. So, but the next day, man, obviously, what goes up must come down. So, I was in work the next day arguing with cunts and all that, man. Fucking my pal, who was my boss at the time, I was being a pure dick to him. I was just being a pure wank. But I still had this feeling of, I don't know what they call it. Is it disassociation, maybe? And I was just like, I just didn't feel right in my body. I was looking down at my legs and all that, man. It was fucking weird. And it was probably the most horrific come down I've ever experienced in my life. And then I was like, fuck this, man. I rode it out, and don't get me wrong, it was a long week. It took I'd say it was a good couple of days, because I remember it was a few days before the kind of, you know that way if you've got a come down, you'll be sitting feeling shite, depressed, all the kind of negative emotions and feelings, and then it'll be like a few days into it, and you'll just kind of feel it dissipate a wee bit. You'll just be like, right, that's the worst state there. That bit, not I'm talking about. I felt that like a few days into it. I just felt, oof. Right, as if I didn't snap out it, but I was out the wilderness, know what I mean? But it was at that point I was like, this has to fucking stop. Because so many times before I'm like, I just kept falling back into old patterns of fucking getting mad with it and all that. I was like, this is the final straw. So that Friday I went looked up meetings and all that, and I went to a CA meeting in Castlemilk. Get the bus out there and that kind of thing, man. It was a Friday night. It was like fucking... It might have been early in the year because it was, let's see, quite bad weather and that kind of thing. It was like a pure dark night. It wasn't just a shite night. And I went away out, man. And I think I was like a couple of minutes late for the meeting. So when I walked in, the meeting was already in progress. So that way you're kind of like, fuck. It's like coming in late to class. That kind of thing. So I walked into the meeting and the first thing I noticed, I sat down, people were turning, what are you doing, shaking your hand and all that. And that's the thing what you'll notice with recovery. See if I walk into a pub, or any kind of public occupied space, not having like prior fucking engagement with anybody there and that kind of thing, a room full of strangers, naturally you walk in, people looking at you and that, you'll be looking at them, that kind of, right, that mad way, like the fucking gunslinger walking into the saloon, that kind of feeling. But when you walk into like a recovery meeting, that's what I noticed, people are pure welcoming. They actually seek you out, see if they don't know your face, they're more likely to approach you because it's a fucking daunting thing. And my anxiety was through the roof. And I sat down in the meeting and I was fucking a pure newbie. A guy done his share and that kind of thing. I didn't really know the format. People were talking about spiritual awakenings and all that kind of thing, and I'm like, right. So they kept mentioning they mentioned suicide was mentioned a few times in the meeting, be like maybe someday like in the chair. People in the room mentioned it, and every time I would get pure. It felt that way when I was on the bus again. I'd get that kind of as if a panic attack's about to come on. I'm like, and I've never really experienced anything like that sober before. It was maybe like if I smoked too much, a bit of green, and I got pure anxiety, or maybe took too much gear. Even gear didn't do that to me when I was using it, but it was a fucking new thing. I'm like, what the fuck? And I was encouraged to share because I was a newcomer and that kind of thing, but I just opened my mouth and fucking just started talking. I was like, spiritual awakenings, I've done all them. So I class my spiritual awakening as smoking DMT. Fuck's sake. Is that no an addict talking or what? But, and then I was, because we talk about amendments. Amendments is a big thing with recovery. You need to go and make amendments to people and all that you've hurt through your using. And I was like, amendments, I've said sorry to cunts and all that, man. At the start, see, before you start sharing as well, you say, like, my name's Jordan and I'm an addict. It's like an affirmation. That's what everybody does. And so this was my first meeting, and I was like, my name's Jordan and I'm a recovered addict. I'm a recovered addict that's just off the back of a fucking mad one ready to top himself fucking 5 days ago. I ain't bothered, mate. You know what I'm talking about? Just that way, just pure deluded with it. But I never went back after that meeting. Right away. I went away for that meeting, and obviously once the come down kind of dissipated, I was kind of like, right, kind of came back to myself a bit. And I think a lot of people's been in that position where they've got to wake up with a cunt to a come down, like, this needs to stop, and they go to a meeting. And it's one of the worst feelings ever. Don't get me wrong, it's great going to the meetings and that, but see for your first time going off the back of a come down, your anxiety's through the fucking roof. It's hard, but you'll not get support anywhere else like you do in their rooms, because every cunt's done it before you. There's not a cunt in that room that hasn't done it. Everybody's been in there, has came back came off the back of being on their fucking knees. So I left. I never went back to it after that, and I was like, okay, I'll just stay off the gear. I'll just smoke green or whatever. So that was my plan. Smoke green, take psychedelics, because psychedelics fucking, they heal the mind. That was my thinking, know what I mean? So I lasted a few weeks having a few beers and that. And that's the thing, see, because I was so accustomed to sniffing gear when I was drinking. See, if I would drink and no sniff gear, it felt almost healthy. And I thought it was healthy. It was good for you. It was good for the mind, because I was bulletproofing the mind for taking gear. What a lot of shite, man. You're the cunt with the red cape. You're just the guy that's dodged the fucking bull. It's gonna catch you eventually. So I lasted a few weeks, and then I pure drilled it into my head like, this is the end. This was it. This is what I needed. This come down. This has put me off it. A few weeks later, I was sniffing gear again. Just like obviously on it, man. And that was the thing. Anybody that's ever done it, seeing you say, I'm never doing this again, and you've really fucking got in your own head about it, I'm never doing this again. You get in your own head, and see, when you do this again, you sit, and when you're got to sniff that first line, there's a wee voice in your head going like that. I thought you weren't doing this again, mate. It happened. You done. And you still do it, didn't you? That voice isn't strong enough to stop you. It's weird. You've got a voice in there. But the voice that tells you, fuck it, just go for it. Compared to the voice that says, what you doing, mate? Why are you doing this? It's like big brother, wee brother, innit? Like, shut up, you, man. Like, just go for it, mate. It'll be sound. You'll have some night. And you become some sight. So, in and out of dabbling, I went. And I never really returned to recovery after that. And I think the next time I returned to it after that, I went on a cycle to Balloch. And me and a couple of my pals. And I'd been off it. I was like, I'm off it, this and that. And I was getting up. It was a sunny day and all that kind of thing. And I was like, right, fuck it. I'll take a wee microdose. Take a wee microdose of psilocybin, magic mushrooms, and I'll cycle to Balloch. So we all met up in the park, Elder Park, just across the road from my house. And by the time we left the park, I'd decided I was getting a half bottle. We were all going to get a half bottle of Bucky. So I had a microdose and a half bottle of Bucky. Then as we went to cycle, we got to a point and we stopped. Obviously they had a wee joint break, and I was like, oh, fuck it, I'll take a wee draw of a joint. So then that was me off it, going in I said it was like a Wednesday, and that was me. It was fucking a half bottle, a microdose, and a few draws of a joint. So we cycled all the way up to Balloch and that, man, and got there, and obviously I think it was like 2 half bottles done, so I was pretty much scooshed. Met a few boys up there, a few boys for Clydebank. And end up sitting, it was a nice day, so we ended up sitting having a few beers and that kind of thing, man. So I ended up fucking pissed. And I think a lot of people can relate to this. I ended up pissed to that point where I was past the point of no return. So when I had the first half bottle, nah, fuck it, I'm just going to drink. I'm just going to have a sniff, few draws of a joint, this and that. And the next one, it goes down. And you're like, right, who's got the gear? And when you're at that point, it's like there's no going back. You know what I'm talking about? Who's got the Chico? Pardon me. So I was on a People Make Glasgow bike. That's what I cycled up on. So I was trying to cycle back. We were on this beach in Balloch. It got to dark, right? And we were cycling back. Like, fuck it, I'll just go cycle to the train station, get the train back. And I was falling off the bike and everything, man. Couldn't see shit. Couldn't see fuck all. But I had this in my head. I was like, I'm getting a bit of gear. And that's what I'm like. See, once I'm mad with it and that fucking thoughts entered my head, and I'm like, boof, I'm going for it. There's no, I've jumped off that cliff. I'm not getting back onto it. So on the train all the way back, fucking, I'm getting a bit of Charlie. My pal, he sold it, and I think he had it in the house. So I was pure like grabbing a bit, grab it. So went all the way back, fucking Govan, I went and got a chippy, he went to the house to get it and that, and I was pure, that's all I was thinking if it was a bit of gear. It's like been possessed, that thought. And that's what I compared drug addiction to. It was like being possessed. When a thought just takes control, I remember when I was an everyday user, I had no money. I'd owed out a fortune. I'd fell out with every cunt. I had no ways and means of getting it. But I would get up, maybe get a wee wash, get a wee bit of breakfast and that. The day would be as normal can be. And a wee thought would enter my mind. Why don't you get a bit of gear? It would literally it'd be like a fleeting thought. But once that thought entered, it was like a compulsion took over. And it was like, fuck, I need to get a bit of gear. I need to get a bit of gear. It was mental. It was fucking crazy. It was scary. It was genuinely like being possessed. Then I would try my best to get a bit of gear for somewhere. And if I couldn't get it, I would be falling into a pure, like a depression almost. Like, fuck. That's hopelessness. It was fucked. So, whenever that thought would take hold mad with it, that's what it would kind of become. It was like it's what they call it, is a loss of control, powerlessness, pretty much. So, my pal ended up coming up with the gear and we sat and sniffed the gear into like the early hours in the morning. He went away, then that's when I went to bed and I couldn't sleep and it was just another one of the ones, fuck this, carry on. I was lying, tossing and turning and all that, fucking trying to get to sleep, couldn't get to sleep. And it was getting into the next morning, so it was like daylight and it was a summer's day, so you can imagine when you're getting into the next morning, no slept, pure come down, and the lights coming in and it's like, it's a nice sunshine. You're not gonna fuck if it's a shite day, but if it's a nice day, it's fucking horrible, man. So I was like, fuck this. So I started looking at meetings. I think it was NARC I was looking at, because you can look online, like a where to find it's called, and you go on and it'll show you like meetings in your local area, what time and that. And I saw there was one in Mary Hill at like 11 o'clock, it was early. And it was kind of like that, right? Because the plan was to go, I'll go later, but then I was like, fuck it, I could probably make that the now. So I ended up just going, fuck it, I'll go now or never. So I got up, get washed, hadn't slept, pure cunt till I come down and get the subway up to Hillhead. And for Hillhead, I walked it. I think, was it Hillhead? I think Hillhead, and it was like a 10-minute walk for there. It was sort of some community centre on Mary Hill. I'm not too sure exactly what it was. And I went into that, and that was, gone off the back of being on it, no sleep, still in the throes of a come down to a meeting. It's fucking, that's bad. It's good, don't get me wrong, going to a meeting if you've got an issue, but it's just the feeling, it's just, fuck, it's horrible. It's really horrible. Don't get me wrong, I get the welcoming in that. It was a smaller meeting, so it wasn't too bad in terms of fucking feeling like a rabbit in the headlights. But I went to that meeting, and then I was at that point, right, I'm just going to stay up there now and try and get a sleep. So I went to that meeting, ended up going to the village with my pal, went to the sauna and all that, fucking, I was fucked. And after that, I was like, that's it, I'm not doing this shit again. And which was a lie, because I ended up doing it again after that, again. But I'd been in the meetings, I'd been in about it. So fast forward a wee bit, I would try and avoid being on the Charlie. Like, it was the green kind of took over for me, because I was able to justify that. Like, the green is fucking, it's a plant, it grows out the ground, you've got cannabinoids in your system, fucking a lot of shit. For me it is anyway. Some people can smoke green. Depends. See, green, right, I'll just make this point now. Aye, green does grow naturally in the ground. It's a plant as such. We've got endocannabinoids in our system. It could be naturally made for human consumption. See the green you're smoking? Most likely the shit that's grown in some cunt's loft that's got fuck knows how many chemicals in it, that has been manufactured to be fucking almost a psychedelic, a stimulant if anything. That isn't a natural plant grown for God's green earth. You know what I'm talking about? That's a drug, and there's many things that are drugs. That is a fucking strong one. Especially when you look at countries in America that are smoking green day in, day out, because they're probably getting organically grown green, no fucking Stardog sprayed with spice, which we're getting. You know what I'm talking about? So, with that in mind, you kind of kid yourself on with all this greens. Oh, it's a plant, it's natural, it's medicine, this and that, and all the fucking rest of it. But each to their own. For me, I'm a fucking addict in every way, shape, and form. You know what I mean? I'm a passion addict. I get addicted to my passions and fucking pursuing things that are fulfilling. I'm a gym addict. Fuck you, lazy bastards. I'm a gym addict. I'm a fucking talking addict at times. I'm a being quiet addict at times. I'm a food addict. I fucking love food. So naturally, when drugs enter my system, I'm a drug addict. So, right now, I'm a sobriety addict. So, as my journey continued, I was dabbling. I don't think I really went back to the rooms as such to got to the rooms with recovery. So, I ended up seeing a lassie. I've documented this, man, but I'll touch on it. I ended up seeing a lassie I was really into. I remember I manifested her, to be honest, because I've got a fear of commitment. I really have. In all relationships, I struggle to get close to people. And I sometimes push people away if I get too close to them. I've never been in a proper relationship in my life. An actual relationship with a female or any. None. So, I struggle to kind of get close to people, but I remember saying to myself, I hope a fucking bird comes along that I'm really into, that is really my type. Because I was bored, I was doing all my things, man, but I'm like, I need a bit of fun, I need a bit of enjoying life. So I met this lassie, and she ticked all the boxes, man, funny, just my type, fucking beautiful. And I was like, fucking hell, this is great, this is good, man. But I just wasn't mentally ready for it. It was just my head was in a different planet with it. You know what I'm talking about? It was, I don't know, I think because obviously I was still using drugs at the time, maybe that played a part, man, but it was a bit of a head case, and long story short, I ended up full of gear one night, mad with it, and ended up going with another bird. Something I said I would never do in my life. I used to hear cunts doing it, and I'd be like, fucking, what a daft bastard. And I done it. And I woke up, the next morning, within minutes of waking up, I'm like, I need to tell her what I've done, I need to be honest. So I told her. Long story short, it got finished. It ended up a fucking disaster. And then that's the first time I was really suspicious of myself. I didn't trust myself after that. Because I was like, look, this is one thing I said I would never do to anybody. And I done it to somebody I really cared about. So, what else am I capable of? And to be honest, I didn't want to find out the answer. So I was like, fuck this. I got rid of all my green within the next day. Don't get me wrong, next day I had a joint. And because I had a come down, and obviously that happened. Anybody knows if you get kind of worry and stuff going on in your life and you smoke a joint, it just exacerbates it tenfold. And it's fucking horrible. So I went and just get rid of all my green shit. And I was like, this is it, I'm coming off it. And I just had this desire, this newfound motivation. I got in about the recovery, got in about the meetings. But I wasn't totally abstinent, because if anybody remembers, at this point I started using conscious caps. And my plan was, I had an ace up my sleeve, so I thought, my plan was to microdose psilocybin, so mushrooms, a drug pretty much, and go to recovery, get in recovery. And that would work. And I was going to meetings and people would talk about relapsing and fucking how they were struggling with their mental health, and I was like in my head, yeah, fucking fannies. You just having to go, I've got, you should try this and all that kind of thing. And I remember talking to a friend of mine, and she's 5 years in recovery, and I told her about my elaborate plan, and she was like, it's still a mind-altering substance. It's no abstinence, you need to be abstinent. And I had the cheek to get annoyed. I argued back with her. Like, it's fucking not enough to get fucking out your nut. So naturally, like a month or two into recovery, I ran out of my supply of mushrooms. And that week, I felt out in the desert again. I was like, shit. Where's my blanket? You know what I mean? Where's my hammock? So I'd lost it. I'd lost my backbone, what it felt like. So a week later, I ended up back in the green. And I remember I was sitting, and I've spoken about this before, I remember sitting and it was an overwhelming urge to go and get a bit of green or something, and I remember sitting thinking, I wish I had a fucking sponsor I could speak to about this. I never had a sponsor. And I end up going and getting a bit of green, and see after getting into recovery, been in about the meetings, speaking the language, see actually when you relapse, I hadn't even really relapsed, I hadn't been fucking off it, to be honest, to relapse, but what felt like a relapse, getting back and using drugs after swearing myself off them, it was impossible to enjoy it. There was no enjoyment in it. It was just shame. And it was a sense of shame. It was just you're smoking it, and it was no like, yeah, it's a wee fucking joint. There was no fun in it at all. It was just pure deep rooted shame. It was horrible, man. It wasn't nice. So I ended up back on that for about 2 months, and I noticed, I used to tell myself, oh, fucking the green, it calms me down, it does all that. I was a fucking crackpot on it. So I'd go into work after puffing the next day, and then I wouldn't like to smoke first thing in the morning because it would just pure zombie me. And I'd go into work and be fucking, all I'd be thinking about was finishing so I can get a joint. It was like, I was like a man possessed, that I would go to fucking, I remember going to the gym and all that, and fucking I'd be pummeling through my workout to get back and have a joint. And I remember used to say like, oh, you smoke a joint and it helps you do a better workout and that kind of thing. Bullshit, man. Bullshit for me anyway. Because you notice, right, so see, when you're exercising, your body's inhaling oxygen, which goes to the muscles, which powers your muscles. When you're smoking, you're reducing your lungs' capacity to intake oxygen. Less oxygen means less power to the muscles. So you're gassing out a lot quicker. You've got a lot less energy. But you'll not notice that until you come off it. When you're on it, you just think, oh, this is brilliant, this and that. But it's not really the case. So, and that's when I just kind of realised it was like, this is a fucking lot of shit. There's all these things I've told myself that this benefits, it doesn't really. And I'm the kind of cunt, I get stoned and just eat shit. I'll be like, right, I'll smoke a joint, write a wee tune or do something creative. I'll start like 5 separate things and no finish any of them. And then I'll be like, fuck it, I'll go make a munch, and then I'll have a chug, and then that'll be me for the day. That's the thing about weed, it makes boring shit seem interesting. I'm quite content to sit in my ass and do fuck all when I'm stoned. See, normally, nah, I've got shit I need to do, I need to get it done. So, after ending up back in the weeds for a bit, I ended up, well, alright, fuck this. I'm getting off it, and I was looking for a sponsor, and somebody recommended my sponsor to me. His name is James. Knew James. I was quite proud of him. Got on with him. And I was like, fucking why didn't I think of him before? And I says to him, he's like, aye, come get in about it, man. Yeah, went and get a big book, it's called. Get a big book and come to this meeting. I'll meet up with you. And from then on, man, I just been in about it, and that was December 2022, and now it's the 1st of September, so it was the end of November, I'm counting it December. So that's me being 9 months totally abstinent, man, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. My life has changed fucking for the greater. It's the best thing I've ever done, and it's only getting better and better. The law of attraction is mega strong. I'm manifesting it because I'm vibrating at my highest conscience. Whoever created me, God, I believe in God, created me. This is the best version of myself to ever exist. And see, about a year and a bit ago, I was fucking half the man I am now. And you've seen it. You've probably seen my transformation, watching my podcast, or you've just seen my consistency online. It's only going to get bigger, only going to get better because I'm focused. And it wouldn't have been possible without recovery, man. But I'm actually going to go and meet James today because I'm still going through my step process. And I'm busting for a shite. So I'm going to make this a quick one and let yous be on this fine Sunday. But I'll catch up with you again. I've got some really, really good podcasts planned for you. So stay tuned. And always, people, like, subscribe, and don't get worried. Catchies! Premeditated
Patter.